Well, welcome to Birth 2012 News. This is your host, Stephen Dinan, coming to you live from Hollywood, and I am just so excited to be bringing you another day of updates in this build up to a planetary activation over the 3 days of December 20th, 21st, and 22nd, what we're calling 3 days of love. The momentum is really building for this 3 days of love because people recognize that in order to create a new kind of world, a new template, we are going to have to live from our hearts and to build a society that reflects that loving energy with each other. So why not create it in miniature for a few days, celebrate that, put our intentions, and then we can co-create it over the years and decades to come. And as part of that practice of building up towards those 3 days, we are starting each of these broadcasts with 3 minutes of love. I'm delighted to bring to you one of our 2 guests here today, Barnet Bain, who's one of the co-creators of Cutting Edge Consciousness and the producer of What Dreams May Come, and generally a very cool multidimensional cat. So,
thank you for
Barnet,
inviting me.
Will you lead us in 3 minutes of love?
I'd love to. I'm so blessed to be here, and I'm so excited to be here. You've created this incredible, loving womb. And now I'm going to ask you all to join us here in your virtual version of this womb. So if you would, take a deep breath, settle in, and close your eyes. Imagining yourself to be in a place of safety, wherever it is you go to meditate or to find inner peace. Imagine yourself with whoever it is you would like to support you, your higher self, your friends, seen or unseen. And now picture yourself stepping in to an old house, a big, grand, old house. You move through the door and you move down the hall. You can hear the creak of the wood underfoot. And there is a staircase. You approach the staircase and you begin to descend the staircase. Your hand on the banister, feel the smoothness of the wood as your hand slides down the banister. And the footfall on the treads underneath, what are they? Is it smooth? Are the treads carpeted? Are they rough? You move down the stairs into the basement. And you step into a room, and you look around, it's dimly lit, and there in the room, as you move through the room, you see all kinds of memories and relics from your past. Maybe there's an old train, old pictures from your childhood, possibly some old furniture, the couch your dad brought home so many years ago, the coat that your mother used to wear when you were 3, 4 years old, some of the old toys. Taking it in, smiling, how does it feel to see that? Not getting too caught up in it, keep moving along. On the far side of this basement is a door. You step towards that door, your hand on the knob. It's cool under your touch. You turn it, push through the doorway, and you see on the other side a changing room. The kind of changing room you might find in any department store. And there's a full-length mirror in front of you. And a hook. And on the hook is a garment. It's a flesh-colored bodysuit. So you're going to take off your coat, your shoes, your socks, all of your clothes. You pull off all of your clothing down to your underwear, pull off your underwear as well, and reach for that bodysuit. It's flesh-colored. You take it off the hanger and step into it. It's a single piece, sort of like a wetsuit. You sit down in the changing room and you push your feet through the opening. It's warm and it's very stretchy and elastic and it slides on easily. Push your other foot through and pull it up over your waist, pushing your feet down into the leg openings. Your toes find that spot at the bottom of each legging, and the other foot, and pulling it up, pulling it up, pull it up over your back. Stretch your arms down the sleeves, down into the other sleeve. Pull it up around your neck and feel the warmth of it. Feel how it holds your body. Feel the sense of peace and the sense of love and connection that you have inside this suit. And now stand up and take a look at yourself in the mirror in this flesh-colored bodysuit. The bodysuit represents a new sense of your own image around love, around possibility, around being more and more open to the greatness and the grandeur of love, a larger capacity to both give and to receive love. The suit stretches so that as it grows and you grow, more and more love becomes available to you. So take a moment to feel that. It's something that you can return to time and time again. It's so simple. You know where to find this suit. Settle in for a moment. Eyes closed, feeling what comes up for you. And gently open your eyes and come back to us here at Shift Central in Hollywood.
Thank you, Barnet.
Thank you so much.
I should have known we would start by getting naked with you.
That's right.
We have a lot of history of a lot of fun events. They are never naked, but there's a lot of swimsuit activity.
Well, I want to introduce Freeman Michaels as well, who's your co-partner in the Cutting Edge Consciousness, as well as an author and radio personality. Welcome, Freeman, to Birth 2012 News.
It's great to be here.
Well, I joke about that, about getting naked, but that's a lot of what you guys do in many ways, is getting vulnerable, stripping off the layers of illusion, getting real. It's like all the artifice, the false images that we have, getting real with people and leaning into our growing edge. Through the radio show and just generally in life. And that's actually where evolution happens. So I'd love for you to share. I know you're going to be doing the vision stage with us, and so you've got a kind of an artistry of this leaning into the edge of evolution and kind of exploring that. So Freeman, I'd love for you to share a bit about that, about what you've learned about how evolution happens at the edge.
Well, there's a risk involved. I mean, there's something that, it's interesting, this idea of shedding. Often we're shedding armor. We're shedding self-protection. Barnet and I talk a lot about our adaptive personality. It's the self we've developed to get by, to be liked, to, all these ways that we've adapted to learn to get by. And this process of shedding that involves some element of risk. It involves some element of discomfort, right? Mm-hmm. And so our work, when we first started working together over 2.5 years ago, was we want to not just do this as an expression of a radio show. We want to work our process. We want to actually move to our own edge. And we want to take our authors to an edge, because it's very easy, and you know this when you do interviews, just to go over talking points, to kind of go for the easy stuff. But we want to make it personal, and we want to take it beyond what people usually talk about. We love those moments when there's something that's, wow, we just discovered something collectively, right? But in order to do that, there's some level of risk. There's some level of vulnerability. You got to show up, right? So that's what we're talking about, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's beautiful because, as just to update folks out there, what Freeman and Barnet are going to be doing is really helping to orchestrate and do a lot of the interviews on the Vision stage at the main event at Agape that we'll be doing in Los Angeles. And from this, we are going to be distilling some of the most important nuggets that we can put on the global webcast about the activation of this new world. But we're also going to have a huge archive available for people who want to go deeper into each of those areas. And so, Barnet, I'd love for you to share a little bit about what Freeman is reflecting on is like how do we lean into that edge, because that's what we're doing now as a planet. If we're really saying we're birthing a new era, we have to go into the mystery together.
Well, one thing we know that where we are going is not going to be a continuation of where we've been. And so Freeman and I have certain hallmarks, and they allow us to have a sense of whether we are on trail or not. And so there are qualities of making a friend of uncertainty. First of all, we're more interested in what we can learn than what we can reaffirm. We are focused on the big picture without losing sight of the current picture. We are interested in moving beyond logic and reason without abandoning logic and reason, but allowing for the complexity that emerges when one doesn't feel that they have to explain everything. For example, I was on a plane yesterday. I woke up late this morning and realized I had to be down in the studio a little over an hour, in a little over an hour's time, and I live about an hour and a half from here. And so without holding it too tightly, you don't want to get too tightly into the logic of Christmas traffic and all of this sort of thing. I'm not unpacking the formula for cracking a mystery. On the contrary, I'm sharing the kind of state that we are interested in exploring, that is aware of what is and is not too tightly wound into it. So another quality, another hallmark of uncertainty is is being more interested in where I'm going, more so than where I've been. And then always the qualities of the experience, form. I'm an artist, and so is Freeman, and certainly so are you. We know as artists that form follows function, and I am more interested in the underlying forms of things.
Functions of things.
Functions of things. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, for a little jet lag.
We let the form take care of itself.
And we do let the form take care of ourselves. The form emerges out of an intimacy with the functions of things. So I'm much more focused now on the underlying functions, qualities of things, and open to the mystery of how it shows up in form.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of things.
Yeah. Well, there's just one little piece that's important too. There's a real joy and delight in the unfolding, in what Barnet's talking about. This whole arrival thing. We never know when we go on this sort of I'm giving up the known in favor of the unknown. We call it the sacred I don't know. It's not a helpless I don't know, but it's I don't know, but I'm really willing to give myself to finding out, to discovering and uncovering, and being discovered by. So we're not just discovering, we're also being discovered by the process. So that's why when we align with these qualities that we want to create and generate, then they unfold in almost magical ways. Truly. Yeah.
How do you guys deal with it? Because most people do not live in the joy of the unknown the way you do. Most people like to hang on white knuckle to the reality they've been given. So what if you find, if we have a whole culture that right now is now really probably needing to go through the most accelerated change in history just so that we can turn the corner on a lot of different things? So how do we begin to seed this kind of a philosophy in the culture so people are embracing the unknown in a deeper way?
What's happening in the world, and what is epitomized by this event, is that we are coming together as a community. And there is so much power in the telling and in the sharing, because I have been most influenced by the behaviors of others, by the freedoms that have been modeled to me, the permissions that certain exemplary folks in my life have given themselves. The impression that has made on me personally is enormous. The willingness to take risks, the willingness to look beyond what we call hard facts, and the willingness to step beyond the idea that the present is the linear result of the past. All of these things, they're conceptual, but to see them modeled, and to see them modeled in, for example, a community of this scale, an event of this nature.
It's awesome.
More so than the demarcation of end times, of ancient calendars, and all of that is beautiful. But in real time, we are creating a community to reflect to each other and back to each other a whole new sense of possibility, and these things are incremental, bit by bit by bit. The conditioning of 14 billion years of a love affair with straight time, with logic and linear thinking, becomes undone a piece at a time, at a piece at a time, and life can become more dreamy. What you have pulled off here in terms of visioning and feeding it love and attention to, and inspiring others to participate and to find a place where their gifts and talents are fit, is such a characteristic experience of something emergent, of some new synchronistic co-creative event. We can't put our fingers on it, but we, you know, as Jesse Helms once said years ago about when asked to define pornography in the Senate, he said, well, I don't know what it is, but I sure as hell know it when I see it.
That's it.
So
That's it.
we have to model it.
I have a comment about that.
Yeah. So model it for each other.
Yeah. So the language is real, and then more real, and then more real. And so we have this, you know, this reality. We say, I create my own reality. The question, of course, is who's the I that's creating the reality? Right. And so, but the realness, it's getting more and more real. Right. It's like, well, that's more real. Right. And the next, even more real moment. Right. But there's a giving up, what Barnet's talking about. There's a giving up. We've got to give up what you were talking about, the construct, in order to get in that kind of space of like, And I'm not pretending for an instant that it's not challenging. I mean, I've made a discipline of this, a practice, right? The practice is...
You were great in Inception, though. Doesn't he look like Leonardo DiCaprio?
Let's get back to it. We're going to pretend this is Leonardo DiCaprio. We're going to put that on all of our press releases.
Yeah, I can sell some tickets.
I'm sorry. You just look so Leo.
That's your reality. No. But that's it. The idea of just shedding and becoming more and more real to ourselves and others. It's that discovering and being discovered by each moment.
Let's go in a slightly different direction. I think is interesting. We've talked a little bit about co-creativity, and you were saying it's like I create my reality, but it strikes me the deeper truth is we co-create our reality, because it's like we have all these little individual eyes that are collectively doing it. So what I think is interesting, you guys have a remarkably co-creative dynamic between
It's the space between us.
The space between you. And I'd love for you to speak a little bit into that as an example of what we're all needing to move into.
Well, it's how we hold the space between us. So look, I have, but I'll say we because I'm fairly certain you guys are in the same pot as I am in terms of the collective conditioning. I have competitive patterning, competitive ways that I was raised, right? You remember musical chairs as kids? I mean, that's one of the first games you play. And you have to have your butt in the seat before the music ends or you're out, right? So we learned how to, get our butt in the seat. And we learned how to time the music, as it were, right? And so these patterns are really tricky. Because when we talk about co-creating, we talk about collaborating, cooperating, there's a lot of unconscious patterning related to competition. Right. And so what
a lot of times we'll gloss it over too, even while we're running the competitive agenda.
Well, in our circle, I mean, we can spiritualize
in this community. How many of us are not guilty of premature transcendence syndrome?
That's what we call it, PTS, premature transcendence syndrome.
I don't have any hostile feelings. I don't have any competitive feelings. I don't have any dark feelings. I don't.
Exactly. We get them out. We get them out. We get them out because that's actually what. So I want to go back because all I was trying to tell you is what creates the space between us is the ability to get them out. So honestly, we have not. My dearest friend. I mean, honestly, at this point, Barnet and I, we don't just do a show once a week. I talk to him once a day, twice a day. I mean, we have a real connection, but it's not always easy. But what I know is we've had enough challenges, enough moments, and we've told ourselves enough times that we've created a space. We've created a trust, right? I'm trustworthy to myself and others that allows us to do the magic. So that's the work for folks. It's really about, we use the word integrity, but as an expression of integration, meaning I'm okay with all these sides of me, enough so that I can show up and be in relationship with someone. The co-creating often is energetics that are on the not so helpful side of the page, as it were, right? This is the underlying threads of our wounded aspects that are showing up in co-creating things, and then we're in all this tactics and manipulation. If we can work through that, come from our heart, come from our gut, reconnect, then we can create magic. And that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about, right?
So it strikes me as the getting real is absolutely central to the being able to co-create effectively. Because you have to have the trust. And the trust can't be there if you sense somebody else is running some other agendas and pretending something's not there. So when you just lay it all out there, that's one of the things I love about you. I know Barnet, I know you better than Freeman, and I just know you are probably the person who lays it all out there more than anyone else that I know, I think. You just put it all out on display, and it's wonderfully liberating.
Well, let's tell on Barnet. So he sometimes a hard guy to be in a relationship because he's so real, you got to pay to play. I mean, it's compassionate. Don't get me wrong. But
are you competing with him on this level of reality?
I don't squeak by with anything. Yeah, that's a good point. That ain't gotcha. Cop to that one, man. But it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, but it's very courageous, right? It's a lot to stand in your own integrity and know that people may or may not like you. We both have I'm sure we all do, have adaptive traits of trying to get people to like us. That's not what we're talking about here. It's risking that and saying, I'm willing to show up.
Great.
It requires, I think, I know that it requires deep, deep understanding of the territory of self. Enough to understand the patterns that we default to and the habituated behaviors. And I'm not talking about a whole bunch of psychology here, but I am talking about the being able to recognize and to acknowledge and to own certain recurrent behaviors, both negative and positive. So when we talk about creating our own reality, we do. And at the first blush of it, we do it out of our thoughts and our choices, our decisions, our attitudes, our beliefs. And then we have certain tools that we use to craft those raw energies. There's desire, there's expectation, there's imagination. We become conversant, intimate enough with those to begin to see what we are bringing to every moment. And then the paradox is we're suddenly open to a co-creation. I mean, up to then, we are pretty much creating our entire experience by a process of control and everything else. You know, I push out against this, I push out against this. But once we begin to get intimate with how we do it, we then allow ourselves to get into the starting gate, where we're able to co-create, where you're able to say, I have a vision here, and how many gazillion people show up to dance together?
Yeah. That's it. Good. Well, we just have a couple more minutes with the two of you. I know. This is why you guys have an hour-long show, because
it's a show
so you need an hour.
This is so crazy.
But I'm not giving you an hour.
Oh.
But fortunately, you're going to get a lot of time, and people out there are going to get a lot of really powerful insights from them with the vision stage and the many dialogues they're doing. So why don't you just hit a few of the highlights from Freeman? You've been spearheading this process.
Sure.
What are some of the things you're most excited about for the vision stage dialogues?
Visionary Artists is one of our pieces. Layla Love's in that one. There's a few other artists in that one. That's going to be exciting. We have Marshall Weeder and Lisa Nichols talking about your dream, how to move your dream and get it really working for you in a kind of vision sense. That's going to be awesome. We're talking about transformational music with Freddie Ravel and Ricky Byers-Beckwith.
I think we have Gay and Katie as well.
We have Gay and Katie talking about conscious relationships, too. Gay and Katie Hendricks. So, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, every one of these conversations, when I come to it from my edge, my knowing and not knowing simultaneously, I always leave going, wow, we created in the space something powerful. And I hope that we can do that for this event and for all the people watching.
I think we have Stephen Dinan, too, at some point.
Let's get Stephen Dinan on there.
Never know.
He's always invited, right?
I get to be in the dentist chair next
Yes.
time. Yeah, let's pull.
We're going to do the drill down.
Well, I think I look forward to that.
I
will look forward to the drilling down with the other guests.
We want a commitment right here.
That's it. He loves doing this. He loves doing this.
A commitment. I will do something with you guys.
All right.
I will do something. Well, you guys, so you're in for a real treat. Barnet and Freeman are just going to rock your world with the interviews from the vision stage, and do turn in with them. Cutting Edge Consciousness, where can people find it?
The easiest place is on iTunes and Stitcher.
Okay.
It's syndicated, so there's lots of places, but instead of trying to tune your radio dial, go to the internet, iTunes, Stitcher, go to your iPhone.
Or our podcast on our website.
Or cuttingedgeconsciousness.com.
Or our Facebook page. We like you to like
You guys
us.
are all over the place. It's hard, it's hard to get away from you, it seems like.
Please like us.
All right, well, you guys are a total treasure to be around. Super fun, and I look forward to making magic with you the next week. So
Give me
thank
a
you.
love, brother.
All right, all right. Thank you. Welcome back to the program, and I wanted to share a little bit about some of the things I'm really excited about that are developing that you might not have heard about yet. One of those things is called the Declaration of Interdependence. Ashok Gangadine, who's a philosophy professor at Haverford College, took it upon himself to spearhead an initiative to create a new Declaration of Interdependence as an expression of this turning point moment. Since we're transitioning, in my view, from an era that has been built upon our separation into one that's based upon our unity, that also means we're transitioning from an era of nation states and tribes into one that's really about one planet and one set of, we're just all global citizens within that planet. So a Declaration of Interdependence is the next octave from a Declaration of Independence, which creates the separate self that is autonomous, and we needed that. That was important. But now, too much independence can lead to everybody squabbling and destroying our planet, so interdependence is the name of the game moving forward. So Ashok has spearheaded this process, crafting a really cool Declaration of Interdependence. It's going to be signed in Philadelphia, symbolically linking it with the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and then it's going to be brought to New York and presented at a ceremony with hopefully delegates from the United Nations and other places in New York, just outside of New York City at the Wainwright House. So there'll be some pomp and circumstance around that. And I think it's just a really cool symbolic moment that we want to mark, to have the commitment to global citizenship be a foundation of what we're moving into and marking this birth moment for a new era. So that's one really cool thing I wanted to let you know about. Another thing is just we haven't talked a lot about Australia. Australia, the Uplift 2012 Festival from Byron Bay is the kickoff for the 3 Days of Love. Barbara Marks Hubbard, who's our visionary midwife, who's been really in the forefront speaking about this movement, she got the inner sense that she needed to be at Byron Bay, where they're really co-creating a field of love in a very warm, welcoming, more tropical kind of environment. It's summer down there, so they're kind of opening this community feeling of love space together. And what they're going to be doing is launching a theater of our birth. So with a theater of our birth is basically telling the grand story, the meta-narrative of the whole arc of evolution to present-day time, 14 billion years. And this precise moment, the whole story of humanity and the unfolding of consciousness, the evolution of a new kind of humanity. And she's going to be doing that with dancers and beautiful music and high production value and videos from leaders from different sectors. So she's really going to be telling the big story that provides the context around this. It's going to air on Birth 2012 TV, 9 p.m. Pacific time. No, it's not the greatest time for the East Coast, but that's what it is because of Byron Bay on the 19th, actually. So 9 p.m. on the 19th. I want you to tune in for this because it's going to be a really important moment. We will be able to re-air it later. We don't have the time yet for that, but it sets the bigger context because as Barnet, when I was talking with Barnet Bain about the larger narrative, if you will, of the birth, we really recognize there needs to be a storyline, that we are not just piecing together a bunch of different things from all over the planet. There's a narrative arc that we're going from, transitioning from one phase of our existence into another. Just as in indigenous cultures, there are rituals and rites of passage that mark this transition. So the beginning of the arc happens from Byron Bay. It will continue through the 3 Days of Love, culminating with the ritual at Agape. So it creates a legitimate birthing ritual. We've been playing with the metaphor of having contractions parallel expansions. So we're calling the waves of unity are the expansions that lead into the birth process rather than the contractions. So there's a lot of richness on hand, so I encourage you to tune in 9 p.m. when we go live with our first broadcast from Byron Bay and really get the big picture and start to mobilize your friends around that. So as we enter into the 20th and the 21st and the 22nd, we're ready to create magic. Thanks for joining us.